I'm about to play 40 years of Mario games, starting with the first Mario game ever, Donkey Kong. That's right, the first Mario game ever isn't even about Mario. In 1981, Donkey Kong hit arcades, and this bad boy redefined gaming the way KFC redefined heart disease. Now, most of you don't actually know this, but back then, Mario wasn't called Mario, and he wasn't even a plumber. No, I'll get to that in a second. First thing you'll notice is that the title screen is very minimalist. This is it. This is the whole menu. You get no settings, no multiplayer, no option to change HBO Plus and VXAO or how they're different from SSAO, because every video game just assumes we know what these letters abbreviations mean. No saying anything. But you do get a high score list, and unless your name's really short, you'd usually just end up putting some spicy acronym. There's a brief demo of the gameplay that loops until you put in a coin, and then it starts. Now, the graphics were mind-blowing for 1981, and even though the game seems pretty simple, I'll get into just how groundbreaking this really was. Made by Nintendo, obviously, you control Mario, who was known as Jumpman back then. I guess he was brothers with Walkman. Get it? That was a little 80s joke for you right there about the Walkman. Okay, sorry. You climb up OSHA-approved ladders, avoid barrels, fireballs, and other hazards to save the princess. You guys ever notice this? He has a very feminine posture. But unfortunately, you can't stomp enemies yet. But for now, you can jump over them and use a hammer. Even though the game seems extremely simple, it's actually pretty skill-based. Timing jumps, reading barrel patterns, and mastering ladders becomes essential, especially if you want to beat a high score or actually try to be good at the game. Fun fact, the whole reason this game exists is because Shigeru Miyamoto, the genius lead designer grandpapa behind all this, imagined many characters and plot concepts, but eventually settled on a love triangle between a gorilla, a carpenter, and a woman. What? That's like me looking at a spoon, a squirrel, and a log of wood, and then ending up making one of the greatest gaming franchises ever. The most iconic thing are the 4 stages. Girders, which is your classic ramp and barrel dodgings. Elevators, which is just another word for jump timing hell. Conveyor belts or pie factory, and rivets. The difficulty ramps up with each loop until you hit an infamous bug on level 22, which ends the game abruptly, allegedly. I don't know, that's what some nerds who actually ended up getting that far say. Now, even though we all know Mario is the weirdest Italian plumber in existence, back then he was a carpenter. Which honestly makes sense because most carpenters I know spend their days jumping over barrels and fist-fighting gorillas. But while most US fans believe it was Jumpman, the first instance of that name being used was actually in the instructions of the US version of the arcade. But originally the devs actually called them Osan, which is Japanese slang for middle-aged men, which is Gen Z slang for boomer. There were even rumors that Miyamoto wanted to call him Mr. Video, but these names were only ever used internally within Nintendo. Now, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm really curious to know what your guys' favorite and least favorite Mario games are, so let me know in the comments below. A year later, we got Donkey Kong Jr., and then watch Jr. hopping through the jungle. No frills or options, just insert coin and go. But if you think about it, it's actually marketing genius, because it's fast-paced and colorful, and if you're a kid in the 80s, this would pull you and your parents' money into the arcade. But anyways, the weirdest thing is the story. This time, Mario is caged Donkey Kong. What? And Donkey Kong Jr. sets out to free him. Oh, PETA's not gonna like this. I guess stomping around on various forms of sentient mushrooms and other animals and vegetables is chill and cool. There was some interesting plot choices, but then again, Mario always gave me weird vibes. There's 4 stages that involve you rescuing Donkey Kong from a cage at the end, but the most groundbreaking thing is that in order to get there, you have to get a bunch of keys and climb a bunch of things, adding a lot of verticality and movement complexity. Honestly, this game feels more agile and reactive, but things are way harder this time. New hazards are constantly popping up, showing up rapidly, and by the 3rd stage, the game is testing your reflexes, and you're getting all twitchy like that dude casting spells on a sidewalk at night.
I mean, waiting to see what I come up with, goddamn me. I said, let me go.
The graphics are a big step up. There's vibrancy, the backgrounds are more reactive than whatever this black void was. Junior is expressive and cute, and even Donkey Kong and Mario have clearer animations, but nothing slaps as hard as the sound design. Oh yeah. In terms of attacks, you drop fruits or avoid. I mean, it's a puzzle platformer, not Mortal Kombat. I also don't understand these spark guys, but enemies kind of just move around randomly until you get close to them, and then they just hone in on you like some laser-guided missile or predator drone. My favorite thing is how Mario just has this glare on his face like someone just cut in line in front of him in Buc-ee's. But none of that matters because in 1993, the world got one of the most iconic games of all time, Mario Brothers. This is the game that introduced us all to Luigi, and more importantly, it was the first time Mario and Luigi appeared together, which created that Mario-Luigi bond that became a classic staple in Nintendo games and social lore. The story is naturally weird. There's a plumbing emergency in New York, and for some reason, the city thinks two Italian weirdos in colorful overalls are the perfect men for the job. Mario and Luigi have been called in to take out the trash, literally. The game is an endless loop of levels with increasing difficulty as each phase adds more enemies and trickier combos, like these shell creepers, sidesteppers, and most annoying thing since those 50GB COD updates, these fly thingies. The coolest thing are the ice stages that come later in the game and add an extra degree of difficulty to the whole thing. And honestly, you gotta admire the creativity of these nerds at Nintendo to just come up with stuff like this. The gameplay is simple, like most games at the time were, but this game's beauty lies in its tight and addictive gameplay. There's no scrolling, it's just one screen, and the whole time it's just testing your reflexes. Miss time a jump and it's game over. Now the graphics, I mean, it looks now, but then again, put yourself in the shoes of a kid in 1982 and this thing's gonna blow your mind. I mean, the brightly colored enemies and the smooth scrolling, this wasn't something you'd expect back in those days. But even though the game was fairly successful, it wasn't really a huge hit with over 2 million arcade units sold worldwide. But what made it really special was that it became the go-to multiplayer thing when it was ported onto the NES. But more than anything, this game managed to cement the Mario Brothers brand that Nintendo was just gonna run with for decades, as we're about to find out. Up next, we got Super Mario Brothers, which, fun fact, is the first Mario game that you don't find in a crusty, sticky arcade. Super Mario Brothers came out on the NES in 1985. This is the most iconic Mario game ever, hands down, and this game changed everything. First thing you'll hear is this legendary tune, and then you pick one or two players, press the start button, and dive straight into World 1-1. The graphics are iconically 8-bit. It honestly looks like someone did this in Microsoft Paint, which is a compliment because this came out way before Microsoft Paint. The blue skies, green pipes, and horse dookie brown are all vivid, and the words are surprisingly readable. Kinda. There's just so much creativity bundled in something so simplistic. In 1985, this was as mind-blowing as WrestleMania. There are 8 worlds with 4 levels each: Overworld, Underground, Underwater, and Castle. And each one has a unique feel, and even though they're all linear, there's secrets like warp zones that give you the illusion of choice. Kinda like Tinder. Your job is to tear through the Mushroom Kingdom to look for Princess Peach, except back then she was called Princess Toadstool, which is a really weird and disturbing name to think about, so don't think about it. Who was kidnapped by Bowser. I mean, it might be a surprise right now, but seriously guys, stick around and watch the rest of this video, because this is gonna be one of the most recurring themes in video game history. I mean, the amount of times this guy kidnaps Peach, I'll get to that soon. World 1 is cake, but things start getting real hairy by World 4, and there's tricky jumps, faster enemies, and hidden blocks, but nothing is like World 8. I'm convinced this was made by sadists with an unnatural hate for plumbers. Allegedly, the second loop's even harder, but I didn't even get that far. In terms of enemies, you get the iconic Goombas, Koopas, and Lakitu, and the most recognized gaming tune ever.
It's me, Mario!
Made by the legendary Koji Kondo, the overworld theme and the rest of the levels, each of which have their own tracks, were the classic video game sounds that we think of when we think of vintage video game sounds. Oh, fun fact, Mario actually wore a hat because animating hair at the time was considered to be way too difficult. Plus, I don't really want to know what kind of haircut Mario's sporting under there anyways. He's probably bald. But there's something very special about this game. It was the best-selling video game of all time for decades with 40 million copies sold. Allegedly because it was bundled with the NES. Allegedly. Up next is probably one of the hardest Mario games ever made. Originally released on the Famicom, this thing is brutal even by retro gamer standards. People back in the 80s were just built different. I know I've already said this, but whoever made this must have had a real sus experience with plumbers. What did they do to you, bro? In fact, this game was so hard they deemed it too hard for Western audiences. It's definitely a little bit harder than Super Mario Bros. I don't even know why I did that. That wasn't even the game being hard. That was just me being dumb. I'm just picturing a bunch of Japanese executives sitting in a boardroom going like, yeah, those weak Euro soy boys and cheese-eating Americans, they can't handle this. You get 8 main worlds plus 5 secret worlds if you beat the game without using warp zones, but the thing that really chafes my nether regions is the enemy placement is deliberately cruel in a way where these goobers just show up at the worst possible time. But even if you manage to handle the enemies, the worst part is the game just eats a bag of onions and farts in your face when it comes to mechanics. Because unless you make these pixel perfect jumps, you're screwed. Oh, this is tricky. This is tricky. Shigeru Miyamoto, the genius behind these games, allegedly made this purely to test veterans of the franchise. If by test he means ruin their social relationships and isolate them in a room pounding G Fuel for 18 hours a day, then yes, he did test them. So it's no surprise this game is considered to be one of the hardest 2D platformers in existence. Yeah, I agree with that. Next up we get Super Mario Bros. 2, and for the first time ever in a Mario game, you get to pick which plumber you want to not fix your sink. Okay, I'm sorry, that sounded a lot better when I was thinking about it in my head. That's right, you get to pick between Mario, Luigi, Toad. I don't know why Toad. Nobody ever picks Toad. Like, no one ever goes, yeah, let me go Toad. Yeah, don't pick him. I want Toad. And Princess Peach, if you feel like wanting to deal with someone who's been kidnapped about 400 times and about a third of those were willingly. I'll get to that in a second. Luigi jumps higher, Peach could float, and Toad was faster at picking up stuff, and Mario is the guy you bring off the bench when you need an old Italian all-arounder. Now you don't have to jump on enemies to end them, you can pick them up and throw them like your roommate's trash that he hasn't taken out in 3 weeks, even though you've told him to a bunch of times. Even the levels are different. It's not just left to right anymore, no, now you can go up and down, because now there's actually variety and depth. The story's weird. I mean, the whole premise is weird. Why is a plumber going to save a princess? Isn't there somebody better suited to do that? Anyways, Mario's in the world of Subcon, and there's a really evil, scary villain in the shape of a frog named Mart. Wait. Wart? No way. I thought Mart was a dumb name, but Wart's even worse. And to defeat him, you just do what you would with a vegan and just overfeed him a bunch of salad. But at least we don't have to save Peach this time. The game looks vibrant and cartoony. Oh, the world is looking real nice here. Colors are just popping. But to calm your expectations, okay? This is the NES, not some Sony 4K TV from Costco you can only afford on Black Friday. Oh, and the sprites move like they drank too much G Fuel. You get 7 worlds with 3 levels each. Some have a lot of puzzles, some have platforming, which is just great when the NES controllers are about as responsive as a Tinder match. But Jeff from GameStop told me this came out in 1990, but then Google told me this actually came out in 1998, so obviously it's 1990. Finally, we get the biggest change that like 3 people asked for. Mario can fly. Well, kind of more like how a flying squirrel can fly. But that's not all, because you get more power-ups like the Tanuki suit, frog suit, hammer suit, probably another suit that I'm forgetting. But what about the story? I mean, they're all weird, but this one's a special kind of weird. Kind of like that one kid in middle school, you know, that ate the eraser heads off the pencils. The Mushroom Kingdom's 7 kings have had their magical wands stolen by the Koopalings who have transformed transformed them into weird creatures. I mean, they're already weird to begin with, but the most surprising thing is World 4. This place makes everything huge. Goombas, pipes, piranhas, or maybe because it was a different time. Directed again by Miyamoto and composed by Koji Kondo, this was one of the biggest and most ambitious games on the NES. This time you get 8 massive worlds like Grassland, Desert Hill, Waterland, Giant Land. I'm sensing a theme here where you just add the word land after a bunch of words to get a new map. Skyland, Iceland. Oh my god, they're actually doing that. Darkland, and obviously Pipe Maze. But the best thing is this is the first Mario game with interactive maps. You can actually choose levels, find shortcuts, use items, and encounter these goobers who do nothing until you get really close to them, like some bored cashier. Fun fact, the Wizard movie was actually an ad for this game, which is the only fun thing about that movie. But Super Mario Bros. 3 was more than a game. Not only did it sell 17 million copies, making it one of the best-selling NES games of all time, but it also revolutionized 2D platformers because of its depth and creativity, and was considered the pinnacle of NES platformers. I mean, not like there was a ton of competition, but none of that matters because this next Mario game changes everything. Because Mario is a doctor. That's right, Mario's a doctor now. And I'm not talking about a dentist or the PhD kind, a real doctor. No explanation, no license, and no med school. Some schmuck decided this mustachioed plumber just gets to skip 8 years of schooling and now he's dishing out pills like some sketchy gas station. Oh wow, the startup screen is pure nostalgia fuel. The theme song, bright lights, and cheerful vibe are all hallmarks of what you've come to expect from Nintendo. Okay, so what do? You clear viruses using falling pills like Tetris meets antibiotics, which is kind of funny because this game was actually designed by Gunpei Yokai of Game Boy fame to appeal to Tetris fans after Nintendo saw how wildly successful that game was. There's even 2-player versus mode if you can convince someone else to actually play this with you. I love how the viruses just mock you like you're in the middle school marching band or worse, cross country. It's a simple game. Viruses are spreading in a lab and Mario must get rid of them. No princess, Bowser, just viruses, Mario, and some questionable medical ethics. Super Mario World came out in 1990 in Japan, where it was actually called Super Mario Bros. 4, but us feeble-minded Westerners couldn't handle that, so they released it a year later for us and gave it a different name. There's no fancy menus, no difficulty sliders, no volume sliders, just Mario riding Yoshi, who's making his debut here for the first time. Nintendo wasn't really into fancy, fleshed-out menus until later, but I'll get to that soon. Bowser's back doing the only thing he does. Move on, brother. Go talk to some other girls. Go sign up for a spin class. Lots of baddies at those, fun fact. But I guess he's kind of doing better now because he's decided to do something else in taking over Dinosaur Land. But because this one's on the SNES, the animations are smoother, the sprites are brighter and more colorful, and everything just feels more alive. I mean, look at Yoshi's tongue. What does that tongue do? My favorite thing are the glitches. You can actually walk through walls, and then there's the infamous item duplication glitch, where you can duplicate block items. This time we got Koopas, Goombas, and football players? Why are football players trying to attack a plumber? Okay, the bigger question is, why can they throw baseballs like they're about to try out for some off-brand minor league team? They can even summon enemies. This is crazy. I mean, we're talking like Quan Chi Mortal Kombat level advanced. But guys, can we talk about why Yoshi can eat dolphins? Why is no one talking about this? Oh, and Miyamoto and Kondo are back again, like Jordan and Pippin.
Behind his back comes left wing, now down the lane.
They created a game that defined the 2D platformer and not only was one of the best games ever made, but it sold so many copies that it was actually the best-selling SNES game of all time. I mean, look at Bowser over here. What is he on? Up next is one of the weirdest but also most iconic entries in the Mario series. Imagine Mario, but now he's teaching you things. The game, I mean, if you can call it a game, it's literally some 90s edutainment software your teacher in middle school would have had you play because it doesn't actually want to do his job. It's Mario teaching you how to type with typing lessons disguised as platforming levels and obstacles that you defeat by typing letters correctly. You hit the wrong key, Mario trips and you lose time. That's it. Maybe someone should teach Mario about fashion. Honestly, the most interesting thing about this is that there's an infamous fan-made mod called Mario Teaches Typing.exe that later made the rounds as some kind of creepypasta. But now Mario's back to plumbing in the first Mario game ever without Bowser in Super Mario Land for the Game Boy. Because I guess being a plumber was working out so well for him and being a typing tutor wasn't, but he wasn't a good plumber to begin with either. First, let's look at the options. I'm just kidding, what options? It's 1989, baby. You got select player A and select player B. That's it. Very Game Boy. I like this. I went from being a plumber to being a pilot. The graphics are, it's a Game Boy. I mean, the water looks like a dog threw up paint on the screen, and the pyramids, I think that's what these are, actually look pretty nice if you squint really hard or you look at them in the dark. But the best part is there's no Peach, which means there's no Bowser by default, but instead we get Princess Daisy, who's kidnapped by an alien named Tatonga. So naturally, the plumber is called in to save the day. Wait, I have a question. If Mario's spending all his time saving princesses, how is he still single? And who's running his plumbing business while he's away doing this? Does he have the whole thing automated? There are only 12 levels broken down into 4 worlds with 3 levels each that are super short. Like, really short. Like, some people beat the whole game in under an hour. And you get to fight robots, flying Maui heads, and seahorses. It's like the least threatening water animal. Now, interestingly, this wasn't developed by the usual Miyamoto-led team, but was actually developed by Gunpei Yokoi, the Game Boy daddy himself. Anyways, in Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins, Wario took over Mario's castle because somehow a plumber can afford a castle? I think that's Mario's castle? How can a plumber afford a castle? I mean, no offense, like, I know plumbers can make bank sometimes, but that's like NBA level money. Anyways, that's how we got Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. This is the first time we see Wario, the my 600-pound stingy version of Mario. Here you get 6 worlds or zones, each with multiple levels, plus Wario's castle, and the best part is, you can pretty much tackle them in any order. Again, they're pretty short, but the most surprising thing is how easy they are. I mean, they're not easy, but they're a lot easier than other Mario games so far. I feel like the Japanese devs at this point just feel like they have to water these games down because they've just been too hard for Western audiences. But it's okay, because you get ghosts, pigs that somehow have the dexterity to shoot cannonballs out of their noses like bacon pirates, Goombas with pumpkin heads, and OSHA-compliant ants. Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins ended up selling 11 million copies, becoming the 4th best-selling Game Boy game ever, which was a pretty big deal back then, because at the time, portable games were ass. No, seriously, honestly, they were ass. But this one felt like a true mainline Mario game. Next up's another real weird one, but at least Mario's not trying to teach you anything this time. I'm just gonna get it out of the way. The best thing about this game is that it's free. I mean, not technically free, but it came bundled with the SNES mouse peripheral, which is an actual computer mouse for your SNES. Because why? This is not really a game. You're basically doing ghetto Microsoft Paint on a mouse with the DPI of a worn out shoe. The funniest thing, or most frustrating if you're weird enough to actually take this game seriously, you can't save any of your creations, which honestly, looking at the capabilities of this program and what some of y'all have made, is probably a good thing. Next up is one of the most important Mario games ever. Super Mario Kart came out on the SNES in 1992 and changed everything. I love how they tied the difficulty levels to engine sizes. European engine sizes, I guess. For 1992, the Mode 7 graphics were a big flex. Yeah, I know this looks about as flat as the Earth by today's standards, but back then, these pseudo 3D scaling effects made the tracks actually look like they were rotating under you. You get about 20 tracks filled with items, drifts, and sabotage. But the most important thing about this game, the thing that everyone was raving about, was the multiplayer. Siege may be where toxicity thrives. But this is where toxicity was born. Nothing compares to that feeling of hitting that perfectly timed mushroom or throwing a banana at your friend. You had match race and battle mode where friendships went to die. But the thing that really chafes my chungus is how much the AI cheats. It's so obvious sometimes they don't even try to hide it. It's like that one dude in class who would turn his head or his whole body just to stare at your paper. Peach and Toad spam mushrooms, Bowser drops fireballs. Luigi would hopefully get a job after this, because being the Robin to Mario's Batman isn't a sustainable source of income. The funniest thing is this game only exists because Nintendo wanted a 2-player F-Zero, but actually couldn't make it work with split screen. But even though this game only sold about 9 million units, it started a franchise juggernaut that surpassed over 150 million sales, and I'll get into that soon. Oh, we got another weird one here, boys. Mario is missing. Allegedly, the SNES version is the better looking one, actually, and the NES version looks rough. Bowser's back, and this time trying to melt Antarctica. I mean, God forbid a man has hobbies. You know what? I'm happy for him. He finally got over Peach, and he's being ambitious. But I'm not sold on how he's going about it, because he's setting up hairdryers and Koopa hotels. This time, Mario's kidnapped. What is up with all the kidnapping in game? Anyways, this time Luigi has to save him. That's it. That's the plot. I mean, it's not Homer and the Iliad. Basically, you're teaching Luigi how to walk. Sometimes you collect clues, identify the city, and fill out information about landmarks like some weird geography Kahoot quiz. It's a very repetitive side-scroller and honestly one of the weakest Mario games. Ironically, it's the first Mario game where Luigi is the main character. But the worst part is you don't even get to fight Bowser. He's just chilling in Antarctica with his hair dryers. But before we get to the weirdest Mario game of all time, and honestly probably the weirdest game of all time, and the most memed Mario, fun fact, there's Mario Time Machine. Somehow this game looks worse than Super Mario World, which came out years before it. Oh god, no, it's another educational adventure. This time Bowser's messing with time, stealing famous artifacts like Isaac Newton's apple, which, why? Is he gonna go try to side and get ripped off at Pawn Stars? So obviously Mario has to fix the timeline by returning these items, so it's kind of like Bill and Ted, but with fewer jokes and a fat plumber. This thing's about as educational as a fart in a tornado. This is it, boys. This one's legendary. Hotel Mario came out in 1994. It all starts with the title screen, which itself is awkwardly animated. But oh my god, nothing compares to the voiceover lines from Charles Martinet.
Nice of the princess to invite us over for a picnic, eh, Luigi? I hope she made lots of spaghetti.
Bowser and the Koopalings have taken over the Mushroom Kingdom and turned it into a series of hotels, and it's up to you to evict them like some stingy landlord by closing the doors. That's it. That's the plot. Why didn't landlords think of that? Oh, and a Peach gets kidnapped again, but by the time the third or fourth absolutely bonkers cutscene plays, you've pretty much accepted that logic isn't really a thing here. You basically walk back and forth, avoid Koopas, and shut doors. It's like a fever dream a hotel manager at some Holiday Inn in Florida would have. The graphics are not terrible. I mean, the pixel art is colorful, the backgrounds are detailed, and the doors you're constantly opening and closing are well animated. But the real standout is the full motion cutscenes. Not because they're good, but because they're so legendarily bad they've become memes. But the best thing is Nintendo had nothing to do with this game. Almost. This was actually developed by Fantasy Factory and published by Philips for the CDI, part of a Doom partnership with Nintendo that also spawned the infamous Zelda CDI games. Oh yeah. Those ones. I mean, at least it's clear Nintendo had nothing to do with this creatively. Now, Hotel Mario didn't break sales records, but it broke reputations. It's without a doubt widely regarded as one of the worst Mario games ever made, but also a really interesting artifact from gaming history. Next up is the first ever Mario RPG game. This one's interesting. It's one of the longer Mario games at 15 to 20 hours, plus the story's not your usual Bowser kidnaps Peach. Oh no. This time a giant sword named Exor crashes into Bowser's castle, scattering the 7 stars and breaking the world's wish-granting Star Road. So Mario does the unthinkable and teams up with Bowser to defeat the Smithy gang. real weird, bizarre army of sentient weapons trying to conquer the kingdom. But the best part is, this is the first ever Mario game where you get a full story save file system. The map's laid out like Super Mario World, where you get towns, dungeons, shops, and turn-based battles with real-time elements. You basically have to time your attacks and blocks, and there's even puzzle solving for you weird ones out there that are into that. But the craziest thing is the pacing. The game's constantly assaulting your senses with mini-games, cutscenes, rhythm sections, minecarts, and every gamer's favorite thing, quizzes. But unfortunately for fans of this, Nintendo and Square had a bit of a falling out, which meant that we would never see another Mario RPG game from Square. Paper Mario, which I'm going to get into in just a second, was made by a totally different team. Next up is the best-selling Nintendo 64 game of all time. This one's a literal game changer. You turn on the game and bam, you have this creepy Italian bastard staring at you. What's he doing with his eyes? God, I can barely read any of the letters on the screen. Options? You want options. You get 3 save slots, a delete save file, and that's it. No difficulty options, no volume sliders. We're just gonna raw dog Mario. The graphics are scary. Not like Doom 3 scary, more like Teletubbies or Thomas the Tank Engine at 3 a.m. scary. The story is Peach bakes a cake, Mario shows up, and I'll give you 3 guesses who's gonna crash the party. Yep, Bowser's back blocking Mario because I guess Bumble or Tinder didn't work out for him. He steals the Power Stars and locks everyone inside some Walmart quality paintings. Classic. Up next is the most iconic Mario Kart game ever. Mario Kart 64. Right out the gate, you get that unforgettable, slightly nightmare fuel intro.
Welcome to Mario Kart.
Kind of like you're walking into a store and being greeted by one of those greeters who's way too excited for making just minimum wage. Again, you get difficulty options based on the engine sizes of what I assume to be a Vespa. The AI doesn't even care, it just rubber bands most of the time. But the biggest change from the last Mario Kart are the graphics, which are a major upgrade from the SNES version because this time you get real 3D tracks, bright colors, and memorable environments. But the characters still look like cardboard cutouts stuck to shopping carts. But it has that nostalgic charm that you use to convince yourself that this is still good. There's no story. You race, you throw shells, and you cause mayhem across 16 tracks including Calamari Desert, Bowser's Castle, Koopa Troopa Beach, each with their own cool gimmicks. But the best part is you get a break from saving Peach for one game and you actually get to take out some of that pent-up anger from having had to rescue her dozens of times. But I know what you really care about is the multiplayer. This game turned your living room or basement into the resting place for your friendships. 4-player split screen was groundbreaking and many friendships were formed, but a lot more were lost. But nothing could match the highs from passing someone and the lows you'd get from almost everything else from this game. Sure, this game had its problems, from the camera suddenly getting Parkinson's to characters flattening like old pancakes on Collision or the glitches. Oh, there's a lot of those, alright. This game wasn't just the second best-selling Nintendo 64 game of all time, but it redefined the multiplayer experience for an entire generation, and became the blueprint not just for every future Mario Kart, but for an entire subgenre of fun first racers like Crash Team Racing, Diddy Kong Racing, and even Sonic and All-Stars Racing. With Mario Party released in 1998, here you have a mix of board game randomness and skill-based mini-games, but the real genius is the game doesn't care whether you played good or got lucky. You got punished anyways. Doesn't matter if you set the CPU to easy, normal, or hard, it sometimes just seems to guess minigame patterns with uncanny accuracy. Sus? Allegedly. But nothing's as suspicious as a mustachioed Italian in overalls playing golf. He looks like some YouTuber or TikToker doing a prank video. This game opened the floodgates for Mario sports titles like tennis, baseball, strikers, and more I'll get into soon. So, is it good? Well, I mean, for a phone game or if you're stuck under a rock, yeah, probably it is. The graphics are amazing. I mean, if, again, this was a phone game, it just doesn't feel as exciting as actual golf, and that's saying something. Okay, but no one actually cares about this, so let's move on to an actual sport. Mario Tennis brought Mario Sports into the millennium, but the biggest question is it better than Mario Golf? I mean, playing catch with a cactus is more fun than Mario Golf, so the real biggest question is it a good game? Surprisingly, it's not not just button mashing, there's actual strategy and timing, topspin versus slice. Okay, that's all the tennis lingo I got from Wikipedia. But nothing is as satisfying as those power shots. In terms of story, I mean, it's tennis. You play as a character playing tennis, playing someone else who's playing tennis, and then if you win, you move up in a bracket and play more people in tennis. Why go out and play actual tennis and burn some calories and get in shape when you can just vicariously play through a short, hairy Italian man? Up next, we get the Mario RPG that kicked off an entire beloved sub-series. The plot's pretty much Mario, but with a twist. If I had $1 for every time Bowser did something sus, I'd have enough to pay off my student loans. So obviously, Mario has to rally the 7-star spirits to get it back. Of course. I love that he just figured that out. But the coolest thing is, each area has its own self-contained storyline. Actually, no, the coolest, most innovative thing is the graphics. Everything and everyone is literally made of paper. And that aesthetic isn't just for looks, it plays into the gameplay mechanics, like turning sideways to slip through cracks. It's one of the earliest and best uses of papercraft art style in gaming, and it ran smoothly even on the aging Nintendo 64 hardware. I love the title screen. It's the calmest title screen I've seen so far. No weird graphics, Mario taking too many of those mushrooms, or doing that weird thing with his eyes. It's basically a turn-based RPG with action commands where you have to carefully time your attack or perform mini sequences for damage, but thankfully the battles are actually snappy and interactive. Which, good, you kinda need that for an RPG. The best thing about this game is that there are no surprises. It's not like pulling up to a Ferrari dealership and being attacked by the Honda Odyssey. With its many seats and roomy storage that can also act as a... You get 8 main chapters plus a prologue. What is this, a book? Each chapter introduces new environments, characters, and partners, keeping things fresh, but there's also Peach again, who I'm pretty sure at this point has Stockholm Syndrome because she's sneaking around Bowser's castle. Oh, but now the party's back with Mario Party 2. This one's got some spicy things. Spicy meatball. Sorry. The biggest feature is the board now has full-blown themes, like Western, space, horror, and other stuff, but I love how even the characters wear matching costumes. That's a nice touch. Look at Cowboy Mario or Wizard Luigi. I didn't think it could get any creepier, but here we are. But wait, there's more. The item system was introduced here for the first time, so that's cool, but can we talk about the startup menu? What is going on here? You roll the dice, navigate the board, collect coins, random bamboozlery happens, like a lot of random black magic voodoo stuff that usually works against you. Oh, and you get to play minigames at the end of each round. Honestly, this is one of the weirdest, wildest board games I've ever played. So much random stuff happens, it's just anxiety-inducing. Mario Party 3 really ups the weirdness with some big updates like the 2-item system. There's also over 70 minigames, but most importantly, there's a story mode about some talking star named Millennium Star, testing Mario and friends to decide who is worth becoming the superstar. Lots of stars and princesses get kidnapped in Mario games. And a final boss, and I'll give you a second to guess who that is. You're wrong. It's Black Bowser. It's nice that the CPU was more strategic this time. Or aggressive. I can't really tell. In 2003, we got the start of something big. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga came out on the Game Boy Advance, and not only does this thing look fantastic, but it also kicked off the Mario and Luigi RPG series. The sprites are bright, expressive, and full of personality. Kinda like a clown, but less creepy. Seriously, the animation is top tier. I mean, look at this. Look at Luigi. Even the backgrounds look lush and colorful like Little Fungi Town or Joke's End. The game is surprisingly well balanced. It's not too hard or too easy, not like you could customize the difficulty anyways. Since this is a turn-based RPG, you do RPG things. But this time you control Mario and Luigi to dodge, counter, and land well-timed hits. Not saying I'm doing that, just you can do that, like it's a possibility. Oh, but best of all, instead of rescuing Peach, as in the person/character, you're rescuing her voice? Yeah, I don't know either, man. Turns out this evil witch Cacletta and her assistant Fawful steal Peach's voice and replace it with... What? Explosive word bubbles. That's right, Peach is so annoying her voice is now an IED. So naturally, instead of doing their actual jobs, Mario and Luigi go to the Bean Kingdom to stop her because he's just stalking Peach at this point. The whole thing takes about 20 to 25 hours to beat, probably. You got Beanlings. I mean, these things are so weak a fart in the wind could knock them over. Troopies, Piranha Bean. Oh, I get it, because of the teeth. Hammer Bros, and Fawful's Mechs, which is basically mechanical nightmare fuel with wild animations. The most interesting thing is that this was published by Nintendo, but developed by Alpha Dream, a company made up of ex-Square staff who worked on the original Super Mario RPG. And honestly, you can feel the pedigree here. This game blends action and turn-based combat like nothing else. Naturally, next up we get a Mario golf game, Toadstool Tour. Okay, I really don't like that word. It just makes me feel real icky, like I just spent a week in Vegas, but at the cheap ghetto hotels. Okay, this actually looks like it might be decent. Pretty robust. That's a word I like. Robust. You can actually tweak things like wind display, ball spin guides, terrain grid overlays, other things that this golf site is telling me golfers really care about. I'll give you a ball spin guide. I can't get this one to work, so I'm gonna vicariously golf through someone else vicariously golfing. This is one of the better looking GameCube sports games, and it comes with 7 courses. Compared to Mario Golf 64, this looks better and feels more dynamic and more like actual golf, as opposed to that Nokia knockoff Mario Golf 64. In 2006, we got new Super Mario Brothers, and right off the bat, you notice the graphics. This is the first Mario side-scroller in 2.5D, which obviously blends 2D and 3D. The characters and enemies were polygonal, while the backgrounds were layered and sprite-based, and everything is clean, colorful, and crisp with smooth animations. Nothing beats Mario cake stomping with some real depth. You got hidden exits, complex platforming, and time challenges, but the best part is this isn't so hard you want to chuck your PC into the nearest Wendy's dumpster. Or so easy a child could play it, which I'm pretty sure was the whole point of the Mario franchise in the first place. But this time Peach is kidnapped by Bowser Jr., because I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the felony kidnapping tree. Wait, no way. Bowser pulls a Ned Stark and dies in like the first world. But no worries, because he comes back later as Dry Bowser. Why is he dry? Give him some lotion. You get 8 worlds, with 2 being optional, and each world has 8 levels. I am loving the enemies. I mean, sure, you can get the classic Oompa Goompa Loompas, but some of these bad boys have been remixed in clever ways. Even the sound design is iconic and weird enough to be memes. The craziest thing is this is the first Mario platformer side-scroller in over a decade. Now, Super Mario Galaxy came out in 2007, and not only is it one of the greatest games ever made, it redefined Mario, proving Nintendo could still innovate in the 3D space. The game's mostly a breeze, until it's not. Yeah, later on the platforming does get real spicy, but first we need to talk about the way this game looks. I mean, this is stunning for 2007, but it's still beautiful today. The use of lighting, bloom effects, and galactic stuff made it one of the best titles on the Wii, which is like saying E. coli is the best disease you can get from a food stand. I'm not saying Super Mario Galaxy is E. coli, but I'm definitely saying the Wii is a disease. The gravity mechanics are amazing, allowing Mario to walk around tiny planets, flip upside down, and slingshot across galaxies using star launchers. Bowser kidnaps Peach and flies off into space, so Mario teams up with Rosalina, this mysterious celestial figure, and has to collect power stars to restore the observatory's energy and chase Bowser across the cosmos. There are 42 galaxies with 3 to 6 missions and 120 main power stars, but you only need to collect 50 to finish the main story. But obviously the true ending requires all 120.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What happens when you finish collecting all of them? You unlock Luigi mode, which is a slightly harder version with controls so slippery it feels like someone rubbed a stick of butter all over your keyboard, and oh, also there's different NPC dialogue. Everything from the creativity, music, control, gameplay, and just overall polish is incredible. incredible. There's Spring Mario, but that's like the only bad thing about this game. Mario Kart Wii dropped in 2008, and as soon as you boot this bad boy up, you get this high-energy theme song and this iconic spinning logo. There actually are menu options this time, but I mean, look at this. The game looks really good. Like, actually good, not just 1980s nostalgia convincing yourself it's good. The gameplay is, I mean, what can I say? Incredible. You drift, launch shells, get hit with lightning, kick your friend out, scream when the blue shell shows up, and still somehow come first. Or last. If you're like me, it's more often last. Either way, someone is not gonna be happy. Bikes are the big addition here, offering tighter turns and stunt mechanics, which change the meta completely. Story? You make your own as you betray your friends and family. Much better than the 43rd time Bowser kidnaps Peach. You get 32 tracks total like Mushroom Gorge and Toad's Factory, with the Grand Prix having 8 cups and 4 difficulties. But the worst thing about this game is the AI. This thing is diabolical, straight up evil. They rubber band harder than those weird slingshot rides you see at carnivals. Oh, you like shortcuts? Good, because you get ultra shortcuts. Well, they're glitches, but you know. I like these Mii characters acting all excited like they're at some F1 championship race. But nothing's as weird as Funky Kong, Baby Daisy, and Dry Bowser. Again, why is he still dry? Does someone rub some lotion on the man? Or turtle, whatever he is. Well, I guess that's better than the opposite, Moist Bowser. This bad boy sold 37 million copies, making it one of the best-selling racing games of all time, which also unfortunately pushed Wii sales. But in 2010, we got Super Mario Galaxy 2. And this game is special. Let's find out why this game is considered to be one of the only sequels that's actually better than the original. Well, first off, the game looks amazing, with colorful and cartoony vibes, and if you actually have a good display, and not some old display like a 144p, I don't know, Nokia brick, even the animations are smoother, and the effects like water, lava, and gravity warping are straight up stunning. The gameplay is tighter, faster, and more focused, and the level design is sharper and punchier. But the best thing is, you can now ride Yoshi. Why? That's not even the weirdest thing you're gonna ride.
What? What?
You're rescuing Peach again, but this time you're riding in the most demented fever dream thing I have ever seen. A spaceship shaped like Mario's face. I'd rather whip around on the event horizon. You get 6 worlds, each with multiple galaxies, and this time there are over 240 power stars. These maps are insane. I mean, look at this. What is this? God, these levels are so perfectly designed. It's like Michelangelo had a baby with Nintendo, and that baby got a PhD in level design. Who's this sussy chungus over here? This whole thing feels like a fever dream Bowser would have after pounding 2711 taquitos. Oh, but the soundtrack serenades your ears with these orchestral tunes. And all the little sound details. Also, the Bowser fights are epic. Each time you fight him, he gets even scarier and the setting more intense. I mean, look at him. He just keeps morphing like some fat Pokemon. Obviously, there's also mini-bosses, but the final boss fight is massive and feels truly cinematic. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is considered the pinnacle of 3D platforming design, but more than anything, it proved that even after a near-perfect game, Nintendo could find ways to surprise players. I mean, fun fact, this wasn't even supposed to be a standalone. Nintendo EAD Tokyo, the same team behind Galaxy 1, treated this like an expansion at first, even calling it Super Mario Galaxy 1.5. But I guess they got just a little too creative. Next up in 2017, we got Super Mario Odyssey. And wow, I like this. We are finally starting to consistently get options. I mean, I know it's 2017, but those older Mario games had about as many options as Chick-fil-A. Sure, this game looks good and there's a lot of variance in the worlds, but the real spiffy thing are the lighting and shadows. Wow, look at this. The story is, yes, you already know, but this time he's planning a wedding. Oh, this is weird. Guess she was playing hard to get? Like, harder than trying to get Vin Diesel to show any emotion in a movie. Oh, and he's collecting themed trinkets from each kingdom, like some tourist collecting Hard Rock Cafe cups. I don't know, man. That dude's really weird if you didn't know by this point. Mario teams up with Cappy, this demented hat-looking thing, and together you traverse Metro Kingdom and New Donk City. I like that word donk a lot. Let's make that a thing. Luncheon Kingdom and Sand Kingdom. And fun fact, the Nintendo team actually visited New Donk City. Sorry, New York City to get inspiration for New Donk City. The most interesting thing is the enemy mechanics. They're really intricate this time around, and you're able to interact with them in ways that older Mario games never let you. There are 17 main kingdoms with over 880 moons to collect. Why, that's a lot. Which you need to fuel your ship, and beating Bowser unlocks more stuff like the Mushroom Kingdom. Why does Mario have so many outfits? There's over 40 outfits. Dude must be loaded at this point. He probably realized he needs to up his style game if he wants to bag any princesses. God, I love this guy and the way he just quizzes me like some sassy cosmic SAT test. And finally, we get Super Mario Bros. Wonder. No, this thing is actually the best looking 2D Mario game ever made. The characters are fluid and expressive. I mean, look at this. Mario's hat literally bounces. The backgrounds are full of movement and the worlds are stunning and feel so alive. Somehow the game strikes a perfect balance between wild and chaotic and chill and creative. But at the end of the day, this is still classic Mario platforming, which is a good thing. The core Mario platforming mechanics are still there, but there are some wild twists like Wonder Flowers which change everything. Touch these bad boys and suddenly pipes move like worms, enemies start singing, or Mario becomes a balloon, because of course he does. There are 6 main worlds plus a special one called Final World. I wonder if this is the final world. But what's really amazing is that there's tons of flexibility in how you approach these levels with all the badges that let you tweak your playstyle. Even the enemies feel more alive than ever, and Wonder Flowers again change them even more. Developed by Nintendo EPD. They originally prototyped over 2,000 Wonder effects and picked the weirdest and funniest ones. But what's even crazier is that this whole game was designed to break free from the usual Mario Brothers formula and explore new kinds of creativity, and you can see that in everything from the gameplay to the sound design. Incredibly, this game sold 4.3 million copies in its first month, obviously becoming one of the fastest selling Mario games ever, and an instant modern classic that also signals that Nintendo is ready to get weird again.